Hey everyone, Simon here with Top Tennis Training, and in this video I want to show you how to cover the net like a pro in tennis. Now, attacking the net and putting pressure on your opponent to pass you is one of the most effective ways of winning tennis points. Yet many players are scared of coming forward. Get a short ball, they know they should be approaching, but they hit that ball and retrieve back to the baseline. They're worried about where they should position, they're worried about being lobbed, and they're worried about being passed. Now, before we get any deeper into the lesson, if you're serious about improving your game, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and you turn on that notification bell. So in this video, we're going to hopefully help you improve that approach game, know where you should aim your approaches, where you should be standing, and how to cover the net in just 2 simple steps. So the first step in winning more points at the net is where to aim your approach and which type of approach to use. So here we have 3 zones, and each zone will be used depending on the approach shot that I actually hit. Now, if I hit my forehand cross court, for instance, to cover the down the line pass, I would have to reach this cone. So by hitting cross court, I now have to cover more ground in order to cover that down the line pass. The down the line pass is the one that you have to be most aware of, and it's the one that you have the least amount of time to cover, and the ball never crosses your line, so it's very hard for you to reach those wide down the line passes, and that's why it's important to always cover your line when you approach the net. So if you keep that image in your mind, always covering your line, you'll know why it's important to now start to approach mainly down the line. So if I hit my forehand down the line into the blue cone, now I have to just reach this position here. I hit my forehand cross court, I would have to get to here in order to cover that down the line pass. So I'm already increasing the distance that I have to move between my shot and the opponent's shot if I hit it cross court. So this is why you should approach down the line around 80 to 90% of the time. Now, there's a time and a place to approach cross court, and we'll cover that later on in the video. Now, the type of shot that you actually hit will also have a massive effect on the outcome of the point. If I approach down the line and I kind of push the ball, so I don't actually hit it with real spin or with any slice, the ball will sit up and it'll be very easy for the opponent to actually pass me on or get the ball to dip into my feet because the ball's just sitting there. There's very little on that ball to make it hard for my opponent. So when I'm approaching, I want to either use aggressive topspin. So I really want to be aggressive with my racket head speed, creating a lot of power, but with that topspin, so when the ball bounces on the opponent's side, it kicks up into them, which makes it a much harder shot for them to deal with. Or if I have a lower ball, I can slice my approach shot and this will help me to keep that ball really low. If you think about playing against someone who slices a lot, you're always picking the ball up. And if you're approaching off a slice, for the opponent down there to deal with that shot now, they have to firstly pick the ball up, so they have to lift it, and then they have to get the ball to dip into your feet, so it becomes a very hard task for them to pass you. So the aggressive topspin approach or that slice approach. Now, when you have a slightly higher ball and you have time, you can also flatten it out and really go for that approach shot, so start being more aggressive, but that's mainly on the shoulder or head level balls. Now, on the backhand side, it's the exact same thing. If I hit my backhand cross court, I have to go from this position to here in order to cover that down the line shot. But if I hit down the line, I only have to now reach this position, so I have much less steps to cover that down the line pass. However, on the backhand side, this is where you can start to approach cross court sometimes if the opponent has a weaker backhand. So if you know that this player down there has a weak backhand, they can't pass you with that backhand, by all means start to approach with your backhand cross court. Even though you're giving away space, even though you have more ground to cover, you're forcing your opponent to use their weaker side to try to pass you on. So firstly, you're applying pressure by coming forward, and secondly, you're applying even more pressure by approaching into their weaker wing. So when exactly should you get into the middle of the court around this red cone? So if you've hit your approach shot into the middle of the court, this is a great tactic because you're reducing the angles that your opponent has to work with. Then you would move into that zone. So if I hit my forehand or my backhand approach into the middle of the court, then I would move into this zone here. So once again, if I hit my forehand approach cross court or my backhand approach down the line into that green target, I'm going to be moving into this zone. If I hit my forehand or backhand approach into the middle of the court, I'm now here. And if I hit my forehand down the line or my backhand cross court, I move into this zone. Now these three zones ensure that I'm in the best possible position to cover my opponent's best shot, which is that down the line. So being in the right spot is half the battle when you approach the net. By being in the right position, you'll make the court look smaller to your opponent because now it looks like they have nothing to work with if you're in the middle of their two best possible shots. Especially if you're covering that down the line pass, the court all of a sudden will look much smaller and they'll have much more hesitation on where to hit. So you've hit your approach shot, you've moved into the right zone. What's next? Now the next step is being ready to deal with the opponent's passing shot. This means when the opponent is making contact with their shot, you're split stepping. So it doesn't have to be one split step, it can be a couple of split steps on the spot.
That's a good volley.
They can be quite low, they can be just slight bounces on the balls of your feet. So you want to be on the balls of your feet because this will allow you to push off in any direction at high speeds. If I'm on my heels, now for me to push off, I have to firstly lift the heels off the ground and then I'm standing on the balls of my feet. Now I can push off. But if I'm already on the balls of my feet, I'm in this position, now I can push off to the left, to the right, or backwards for that lob. So getting into the right zone, but then being alert and being on the balls of my feet in that wide athletic stance, allowing me to cover anything that my opponent throws at me. So now I'm ready to deal with my opponent's passing shot, and if they hit the ball close to me, all I have to do is use that one-step volley. So simply starting on my outside leg, so the backhand side, my left leg, and then going on to the right leg. And on the forehand, right leg onto the left leg. So that step across with either leg will allow me to transfer my body weight through that volley, be more stable, and also generate some power with that body weight transfer. Now if my opponent hits it wider away from me, this is where I can now start to use that two-step footwork combination. So if he hits it wide on my forehand side, I'm firstly stepping out with my right leg, so right leg, and then my left leg. This will allow me to reach that tram line in two steps. So once again, split step, right leg, left leg. The same thing on the backhand side. If they hit it wide, I can go left leg, then right leg. So split step, left, right. And you can see how wide I can cover with just two steps. Which means I have the ability to step forward and cut off their passing shot. Now what happens if they throw up a lob? So from this ready position, I should be balanced enough that I'm not just moving forward, I also have the ability to move backwards. So as soon as you recognize the ball is coming as a lob, your first step is to pivot around this front foot. So I'm in that ready position, I'm ready for a forehand volley, I'm ready for a backhand volley, but I'm also ready for the lob. I see the lobs coming, I firstly take this right leg and step back. So at the same time I'm stepping back with this right leg, my left shoulder starts to turn. Now this is for the right-handers out there, it's the opposite for the left-handers. So this position here, I see the lob coming, step back, coil the shoulders. By coiling the upper body, it will help me to prepare the racket head, get it into that back position, and I'll have the space to accelerate to create some power on that smash. But it all starts with that pivot step. So split step, pivot step, and now I'm ready to move back. From this position, being side on, if the ball is very deep, I can use crossover steps to reach that deeper lob. If the lob isn't that great, if it's just going to be landing around that service line or slightly behind, I can use the side shuffle. So here, side shuffle, and I'm ready to hit it. If it's very deep, I can go here, pivot, cross, cross, and hit that smash. So no more excuses for not approaching the net and finishing off points with your volley. Now you know where and how to approach, you know where to position yourself in that transition phase, and you know how to cover the net in 2 simple steps either direction, but also the lob. Now if you've enjoyed the video, make sure that you click on that like button. It really helps us out, so thank you in advance for doing so. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and make sure you turn on that notification bell so that YouTube will let you know whenever we release a new lesson. If there are any lessons that you'd like to see in the near future, leave a comment below this one and we'll try to make the most popular suggestions from the comment section. Signing off, Simon from TTT, all the best and see you soon guys.